This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Should you end your situationship? This is a definitive guide to whether or not you should end your situationship. I know everyone wants to know. I know this is a hot topic at the moment. First question, everyone starts here. Are you actually in a situationship? I feel like people are tossing this term around loosey-goosey nowadays, okay? So there are two options you can pick from. You can either pick I don't know or yes. So if you picked I don't know or I'm not sure, then you should watch my video, Are You in a Situationship? It's up there before you watch this one. Link also in the description. However, if you picked yes, then follow-up question from this is, what is your role in the situationship? So there's a couple options that you can pick from here. So the first one is, you're the person that wants commitment and you're not getting commitment right now in the situationship. The second one is, you're the avoider. You're the person that's avoiding commitment. You don't want commitment. The third option is, you're acting chill in the situationship and you're pretending that you're totally fine with this, but actually you want more. And the final choice you can pick from is, I'm confused. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Okay, so starting with the first one, if you want commitment, follow-up question from this is, what is the stance of the other person in this situationship? So here, just pick it based on like what they've said or like what they've said they want, right? So like some people might say like, oh, I like you, I want to commit to you, but like it might not necessarily be true, but like obviously you are a biased party, you're not going to be very good at picking this, so like just pick this based on what they've actually told you. So there's three options that you can pick from what they've said. So the first one is, you don't know or you've not asked them. The second one is, they want commitment, and the third one is, they avoid commitment or they give you mixed signals. So for either avoid commitment or mixed signals, you go into the same branch. Okay, so starting with the first one, if you don't know or if you've not asked them or it's like basically unknown, have the conversation. Ask them what they want. Ask them what like what do you see, where do you see this going? You know, like you just have to bite the bullet, you know? You just have to fucking ask. And then depending on what they say to that, they can either say, yes, I do want commitment, or no, I'm not ready, I don't want commitment. And for both, you just go into the corresponding branch of they want commitment or they don't want commitment. Okay, so now that's out of the way, we're gonna go into the second branch, which is, I want commitment and I've asked this person and they also want commitment. So if that's you, follow-up question from this is, why do you want commitment? So ask yourself, why am I watching this video? Why am I so invested in defining or like figuring out if I want to end the situation? Like what is drawing me to like want commitment from this person? So there's three options here that you can pick from, okay? So the first one is social pressure, the second one is ambiguity/discomfort, and the final one is long-term trajectory. So I'm going to explain each of these in turn for you to pick from. So the first one, social pressure. Basically, this means I feel like I want commitment, or like I want this person to commit to me, or like I want a label here because I feel externally, based on what I've seen from other people, or because I've heard it online, on social media, on TikTok, etc., that situationship, like if I use the word, or like if I'm in the scenario, this is bad. And this might not obviously be the only reason why you want commitment from this person, but if a large part of the reason you're thinking about this, or whether or not you want a label, is because you heard the word situationship thrown around a lot online and they're like, oh, it's bad to be in this, or like people are like, it's bad to be in one, and it's like a faux pas if you tell your friends and they're like giving you shit because you don't necessarily know what you're in, then your reason would be social pressure. Okay, so moving on to the label of ambiguity/discomfort. So this means you want commitment, or like you want to define the relationship because you don't like ambiguity, right? So like you don't like the idea that you really like this person but you're not sure what you are here, right? So here it might not necessarily be that you see this person as your soulmate, right? Like your husband or wife, but it might just mean here that you don't like the idea of having no clarity, or you don't like the idea of like not knowing where you stand with this person. Like if the idea of hanging out with this person and not really being sure of like what exactly is going on makes you anxious, then your choice here might be ambiguity/discomfort. Okay, moving on to the final one. So the final reason that you might want commitment is long-term trajectory. So what this means is, at this time in your life, you're only looking to like explore serious romantic options, right? So like you're not really looking to see how things go. You're not really like trying a casual date, right? Like you essentially want commitment, or like to explore things that will potentially become serious relationships, long-term relationships, possibly forever, possibly you're looking to date to marry, like you're looking for marriage. Like this is kind of the trajectory here. Okay, so out of those three options, pick which is the main reason of why you want commitment. I'm now going to go through each of the outcomes in turn. So like starting with social pressure, right? If your main reason for wanting commitment is social pressure, then you get the outcome of sanity check first, because here you're saying that you want commitment, right? And you've asked this person and they've also said with their words that they also want commitment, right? So like on a surface level, it seems fine. right? But like, sanity check first, because you've said that like the reason that you want to define the relationship is because of social pressure. You should only label things now if that other person's behavior is actually solid. So like if their behavior actually matches what they say, which is that they want commitment, right? And also you should think about the fact that like if you're only chasing a label because TikTok or like your friends told you that being in a situationship is bad or like it's embarrassing, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking cancel this video. If the main basis or the main reasoning for why you don't want to be in the current scenario that you're in now is because of external pressure, then slapping like a boyfriend or girlfriend label on something shaky won't actually fix the insecurity that you fundamentally feel in your dynamic, which is why the outcome is do a sanity check first, like really dig deep, figure out if you actually do want commitment, and also figure out if that other person's behavior actually reflects what they're saying to you. And then when the relationship is strong, then you can label it. Otherwise, I think you should slow it down, focus on clarity, try not to focus too much on optics, because everything online is simplified. And I'm not saying it's fake, but it's not the full picture. And they also don't know your life. Okay, so moving back up from that, if you picked the reason why you want commitment and this other person has told you they want commitment as well is because of ambiguity or discomfort, then you get the outcome of asking for exclusivity or asking for them to kind of put a label on it now or in the very near future. So the reason for this is because if uncertainty itself is the thing that's giving you anxiety or like stressing you out, then the fastest relief obviously would be exclusivity and a label and a short timeline. So like a shorter timeline of like asking them, I think we need to like clarify things quickly would give you the certainty without necessarily rushing beyond comfort. So like don't give them an ultimatum. Like don't be like, you tell me right now or like I'm never seeing you again. Don't do that, okay? But like give them a very short timeline which allows them to kind of clarify within themselves what they want with you, but also it doesn't like take too much out of you. I know this one people are probably gonna have opinions about me suggesting, but like I think, don't get mad at me in the comments, I think sometimes you don't necessarily need to force a full title, especially since here both of you are saying that you're on the same page, right? Because you're saying that you want commitment. This other person is also saying that they want commitment. So in some way, I'm gonna get canceled. You don't need to slap a full label on it because the intent is clear here, right? Like the intention is that you two are generally on the same page, right? Like one person might be further along than the other person, but if you're both interested essentially in seeing how it goes, another thing you could try is that like it might actually be more palatable or like a little easier to do like a smaller middle step first. So here, just establish if you're exclusive. So like, are you both only seeing each other? Like that's a small step before becoming a full item, right? And if you tell them like, I only want to see you, I'm only interested in you, and you're only interested in me, establish that first, and it'll probably like clear up a lot of what you feel anxious about. Before this video continues, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've ever been meaning to make a website for something, Squarespace is honestly the easiest way to do it. Their new Blueprint AI tool asks you a few questions about what you want, and it helps you set up the entire layout. You can move things around, add pages, change the design, it all stays clean and professional without you needing to know anything about coding or website design. They also have a feature for member areas, which lets you put certain resources or content behind a login if you ever want to offer something more structured without relying on a separate platform. And it's a really useful tool if you're trying to build out a community or like a sense of exclusivity, or even if you just want to gatekeep something, honestly. Like for no reason, except if you want the feeling of the power of being able to gatekeep some shit, then use the members area. They didn't tell me to say this. I hope they approve of this ad read. If you're hearing this part of this video, it means that it means this ad read got the okay to go. I love my job. Anyway, if you've been meaning to make a site, or if you just want to have something that's more official than the link tree that you're using, then you can get started with a free trial at squarespace.com. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/crystal for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, moving on to the final option is if you want commitment because of your long-term trajectory. And again, remember this person also said that they want commitment, right? So the outcome you get is you should define the relationship basically, but only do it if the actions of this person are actually consistent and like aligned with your future, regardless of what they tell you, right? Because here, again, they're telling you that they want commitment, but you need to see if the behavior actually matches up, because bitches lying, okay? People can just say anything, okay? You have to like see with your eyes whether or not their behavior aligns with their words, with what you're hearing. If not, you should probably exit. You should probably leave if you're looking for a partner that you want to build a life with. You can't really just take I want commitment at face value, because as I said, people are lying out there. So this, out of the three options of like why you want commitment, this is like the reason why you want commitment, this is the one where you like very clearly need alignment. You do need to define the relationship in this one, so it's not like the other ones where you're like, you can just see if it's exclusive, right? It's because this one is high stakes, because you're telling me, motherfucker, you clicked on this option, you're like, I want to get married, Crystal, I want to find like my long-term love of my life, okay? So like this is a high stakes, so their actions and their life direction needs to match you, and that's why this outcome is label, but only if it's consistent and like future aligned. Otherwise, you should probably leave. It protects your long-term goals from being derailed, and best of luck to you. Okay, so that covers all of the scenarios where you're saying that you want commitment, and this other person, when you ask them, has said that they want commitment. So we're now going to go to the really sticky one, which is you want commitment, and you've asked this other person, and they've either said they don't want commitment, or they've given you mixed signals, or they've basically avoided the conversation. Then the follow-up question from this is, again, like the last part, why do you want commitment? So again, you have 3 options here. So social pressure, ambiguity, discomfort, or long-term trajectory. So if you pick social pressure, again, this means I heard the word situationship online. I think it's like bad in theory, so I don't want to be in one. If that's your reason, then the outcome you get, again, is that you should do a sanity check here, check your own motives first. And then if you realize that it's like only like optics only, if you actually dig deep and you're thinking about the dynamic you're in, if you're enjoying yourself, and you realize, actually, I'm realizing that I only want to like add a label, or like I only feel like I'm in a bad spot, or I need to change something because everyone else is telling me that it's bad, I'm gonna get so much fucking people are gonna be so mad in the comments. Okay, I feel like here, I think it's fine. I think you can stop pushing for a title. I'm getting canceled for this video. But what I mean here is basically, if the only reason that you want a label isn't necessarily that you actually care about deep stability or clarity, but because you care about how it looks to other people, and that person avoiding commitment or like telling you that they don't want commitment, the mismatch there exposes the fact that your need for a label or like a relationship label is actually performative and it's not personal. And so that's why I think here you might actually be able to survive without a label if you zoom out and you realize that you don't actually need it, or like you don't actually want it. And if you try that, right? I'm getting canceled. If you try that, like try not pushing for a title, then you can see if your feelings are actually real, right? Because if you try what I just suggested and then you realize, actually, Crystal, I still feel distressed, like this still stresses me out, then your distress might actually be signaling that maybe social pressure wasn't actually the only driver at all, and it's morphing into discomfort, or you're realizing, actually, maybe I have deeper feelings for this person that I like, in which case, reassess where you are on the chart, and you can have a fuller conversation, or you can figure out whether or not this is something that you want to end, if you want to end the dynamic. Okay, so moving on to the second motivator. If your reason for wanting commitment while this other person has told you they don't want commitment, or they're giving you mixed signals, the second reason is ambiguity or discomfort. So as I mentioned before, this is when like you thinking about your dynamic, or like when the idea of not having clarity with this person makes you anxious. Like if you're thinking about like, I'm hanging with this person, I like them, I don't know where we are, this is making me anxious, this is stressing me out, then you get the outcome of you should offer a short exclusive window and then see how that goes with that person. And if they're still avoiding, if they're still not, if it's still like a negative output, if it's still like, if they're still giving you like negative signals, then you should probably cut it off. So basically what I mean here is like, sometimes you can tolerate a short exclusive phase without a title, because this can still help you figure out whether or not you're actually wasting time with this person, right? So the way to ask this, right? So like, how do you ask for this person to like have a short exclusive trial phase with you? Basically, this is where language really matters, right? Because if someone is already allergic to the word commitment, which they probably fucking are if you're in this branch, you can't really fucking come at them and be like, let's just commit for 2 months, right? Like just fucking like exclusively date me for 2 months, right? So you need to phrase it in a way that's like, I like what we have, I don't need a big label right now, but I do need to know that it's just us while we see where this goes. Again, people are gonna get so fucking mad at me in the comments, but again, personally, I feel like it's better if I give you advice that you will actually follow, as opposed to like some great advice that's probably like morally better, or like, you know, morally more pure, but you're not gonna fucking follow. What the fuck is that gonna do for you, right? So like, just don't fucking get mad at me. Don't fucking get mad at me, okay? So here you should basically be emphasizing clarity, not restriction on the part of this other person. I'm getting canceled in this video. But again, realistic video for you, okay? Because in the modern day, I know it's very difficult to like exist because you clearly like this person and that's why you're doing this. And the reason I'm telling you this, as opposed to just telling you, oh, just leave, or like, oh, just put a relationship label on it, it's all well and fine good for like some online to fucking tell you to do something drastic, right? But like, let's be honest, if you like this person, and you clearly like this person, it's essentially useless for some like holier than thou online presence person that doesn't know you to be like, oh, you deserve better than that. You should quit them, you know? Like, yeah, that's probably true on some level, but are you gonna listen to them? Probably not. You might listen to them after you fucking learn your fucking lesson, but you're not gonna learn your lesson unless you fucking do it. You know, sometimes you have to like let a toddler just fall on their ass before like they get up and they like learn how to walk again. Like sometimes if you don't let them like fall on their ass, they're just not gonna fucking listen to you. So this is me holding your hand while I let you fall on your ass. I'm giving you a half step here. So here, just ask for a trial period with this person. Tell this person something along the lines of like, it's hard for me to feel comfortable because I don't know where I stand. I'm not asking for forever. I just want some clarity right now so that I can kind of feel better about our dynamic. So it's about testing whether or not this person can first meet you halfway for a trial period. And if they can't even do that, then your ambiguity is obviously not going to get better. And then you can leave. And I feel like at that point, you'll probably have better clarity about leaving, and you'll also feel more confident and okay in it because at least you gave it a shot. Okay, so moving on to the final reason that you want commitment. So if you said you want commitment because of your long-term trajectory, so again, this means like you at this point in your life, you only want to explore serious romantic options. You're not really looking to like waste time. Time is of the essence, basically. You're not really looking to like, you know, like see where this goes. You essentially want commitment. You're looking to get married, etc., etc. Then if that's your reason for wanting commitment and this person has told you they don't want commitment or they've avoided the conversation or they're giving you mixed signals, then this is a hard mismatch. You should end things with this person quickly, because if your goal is a serious relationship and they're actively avoiding commitment, then here no middle ground exists, okay? Because the cleanest and healthiest move here is to leave quickly and find someone that aligns with you and that is a better match for you. Okay, cool. So that rounds up all of the scenarios where you're saying that you want commitment and this person says they don't want commitment, they're avoiding it, they're giving mixed signals. So we're now going to move into the second part of the chart, which is your role here is not that you want commitment, but rather in the situationship, you're the person that's avoiding commitment, or you're saying, I don't want commitment. So the first follow-up question from this is, what is that other person's role here? So like, what is that other person's stance? If you don't want commitment, what is this person saying? So you have three options to pick from. The first one is they want commitment and you don't want commitment. Number two is they're also avoiding commitment, or they're also saying they don't want commitment. And the final one is, I don't know what this person wants because I didn't ask them. I don't want commitment, but I didn't ask this other person. So going down the first branch, we're first going to talk about if they want commitment. So you don't want commitment, they want commitment. So the first follow-up question from this is, why are you avoiding commitment? Or like, why do you not want commitment, motherfucker, in this situationship? So there's a couple of reasons here. There's actually a lot of fucking reasons I listed out. So listen to all of these first and then figure out which one best suits you. So the first reason is casual preference. So this basically means you don't want commitment because you're saying that you want to keep things casual or you want to see other people on the side, right? So like this might be you if you're saying that at this point in your life, you want to keep things casual, you want to be, you know, how you're just having fun, right? You want variety, novelty, and you're not really trying to be tied down. So like this isn't necessarily about your partner here. It's about like your stage in life, your lifestyle, etc. You want to keep things casual. Okay, so the second reason you might pick from for why you don't want commitment is you don't see this other person, your partner, long term. So this might be you if you're thinking to yourself, you like spending time with this person, but you can kind of already tell that when you're spending time with them, they're not necessarily someone that you see long term, or like they're not forever material, right? Whatever that means in your subjective opinion for why you're not interested in this person. So maybe it might be that you think your values clash, or like you think your lifestyles are ultimately not the best matched, or like maybe your attraction to them is no longer as strong as it is. For any subjective reason, I'm not saying it's good or bad, you don't see this person long term. So that might be the second reason. The third reason you might be avoiding commitment is fear-based. So what this means is I don't want commitment, or like I'm not trying to put a label on things because I'm scared of commitment. So what this might mean is that you might not necessarily like dislike this person or like have any feeling towards this person. In fact, you might actually want love or like partnership or like a relationship, but the label itself gives you like a type of anxiety. Maybe it's from like a fear of vulnerability or like being trapped, or maybe family baggage or like things in your past. Any of those reasons, subjective reasons for like why you're scared of commitment, this might be reason 3. Okay, the fourth reason you might be saying that I don't want to label things or like I'm avoiding commitment is uncertainty. So what this means is like if you're the type of person that's like, I want to see how this goes, and if you're not sure yet about this other person and where they could fit, then this could go either way, right? So like here, it's not necessarily that you actively oppose commitment, but it might be that you're avoiding labeling things too soon because you are actually still trying to figure out what it is that you want, and so you're trying to avoid a label to buy yourself some time. Okay, and the fifth reason you might pick for like why you're avoiding commitment is life stage priority. So what this means is if you're saying I don't want to put a label on things, or like I am trying not to fully commit to this person because I'm prioritizing other life goals right now. So for example, your career, your travel, independence, etc. Maybe you actually do like this other person a lot, but you don't have the emotional bandwidth. That sounds so fucking cringe. What is this corporate office? You don't have the emotional bandwidth right now for a committed relationship, then you might pick this as your reason. Finally, the sixth reason that you might pick for like why you're avoiding commitment or if you don't want commitment is that you actually don't like them that much and they're convenient. So this is the low interest option. This is the most ethically dangerous option to pick from, and it's kind of, you can kind of understand what it means, but it's like if you're not wanting commitment because you like this person to like some extent, but like not that much. So maybe you're in this dynamic right now because of the attention it gives you, or for sex or for companionship, but you're not actually deeply invested, then you should pick option 6 for your reason. Okay, cool. So now you have an overview of all of the different reasons you might pick for why you were avoiding commitment or why you don't want commitment in your dynamic. So we're going to take each of these in turn. So starting with the first one, if you picked your reason for avoiding commitment is because of casual preference, so like you want to keep things casual, then you get the outcome of you should probably kindly unmatch with this person. You should probably like leave. And the reason for this is because, as you've said, is your reason. You want variety, you want light, fun in your life at this moment. And if this person has told you they want commitment, then clearly they want exclusivity, they want labels. That's a direct mismatch. And if you keep playing it casual, even without saying so, you're misleading this person, right? If the other person assumes exclusivity or deeper potential, them will get hurt. So what you should really do here is state clearly that you only see this as a casual thing. And if they can't accept that, or if they want something more, then you really should be the bigger person and leave. Because there's many people out there who also want to keep things casual. So have fun with them. Like, go be casual with them. Don't beat this dead horse because you're breaking someone's heart here, most likely. And like, just remember that being open, like, it's fine if you want something open, if you don't want to put a label on things, that's totally fine. But being casual only works if you are like both explicitly on the same page about being casual. Basically, you owe this person clarity or you need to leave. It's on you to be the kinder person here because the other person is more vulnerable in the situation. Okay, moving on to the second option. If you picked you don't want commitment because you don't see this person long term, then you get the outcome of, again, you should exit, you should leave this dynamic because it's a mismatch. Because you already know you don't see them as a future partner, and if this person wants a label or if they want commitment, then they probably do see potential in you, and keeping them around is unfair and you're kind of wasting their time. And basically, you just risk leading them on more, so honesty is the best policy, so you should probably end it cleanly or it becomes cruel. Okay, moving on to the third reason. If you picked the reason that I don't want commitment or I'm avoiding it is because I'm scared, then you get the outcome of you should have a short trial window with this person and then reassess what your feelings are, like, or decide. Because for this scenario, right, if you pick this, you might actually want a serious thing with this person, but your fear is what's blocking your commitment here, right? And if you don't really give it a short trial period, you might actually be like unintentionally sabotaging something that is really good by defaulting to non-commitment, which is what you're kind of doing right now. In which case, I think the mismatch here, or like the miscommunication, is actually salvageable if you are able to overcome your fear for at least a short period of time. And if the other person is patient and willing to kind of wait for you, and if you're both willing to work on it, then you can kind of do a short trial. But if you're not willing to do that, or if you're too scared to do that, it's kind of unfair to kind of hold this person in limbo. So you should either trial something exclusive or you should probably leave. But you can't really remain static in indecision because it's probably just going to stagnate and end. Okay, moving on to the next option. If you picked the reason that you don't want commitment or you're avoiding commitment is because you still want to see how this goes, or you're like not really sure how you feel just yet, then you also get the option of you should have a short trial window and then decide. decide, because you're not really sure right now if they're still right for you, or maybe you're still like exploring how you feel about this person, but you're not against the idea, then that can bridge with this other person's desire for commitment, right? But only if you're like explicit with them, or like at least internally within yourself, of like a short evaluation window. So maybe like give it like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 months. And here you actually need to like be putting in the work, or like willing to try it. So like don't just tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm gonna like try it, and then just continue doing the same shit, right? Because like without a deadline, uncertainty just becomes leading them on. Okay, moving on. If you picked the reason that you're avoiding commitment, or you don't want commitment, is because you're prioritizing other things in your life, so like other life goals. So here, this is kind of an interesting one, because if the only reason you're avoiding commitment is because your life is packed, like you're buried in school, or you're building a career, or you just feel like you need independence right now, then like the issue here isn't necessarily your feelings, but it's rather about your timing, right? So I feel like the most honest thing to do here, if this person has told you that they want commitment, or they want something more exclusive with you, is to just like straight up tell them, I like you, I have feelings for you, but I don't really have space for a relationship right now. You should probably say it in a better way that doesn't sound like corporate dribble. That way, just be transparent with this person, and then make it their choice of whether or not they wait for you. And if they're not up for that, you just need to accept the fact that you need to be a good person and not string them along, even if you do like them, and you just gotta leave. You have to cut things off in a kind way. Okay, and finally, moving on to probably the touchiest part of this video, one of the touchiest parts of this video, which is if your reason for not wanting commitment is because you kind of have low interest in this person, or you don't really like this person that much, but this person clearly and obviously likes you more than you like them, and they've also told you they want commitment, or they want something more. I'm not gonna lie, like there's no way for me to beat around the bush. You're basically keeping them around for right now, and that's not fair. The only ethical thing to do here is to end it instead of stringing them along. You already know this one, to be honest. Like, you can find someone else that you're more interested in. Please don't torture this person, because they probably have enough shit on their fucking mind. Okay, so that wraps up all of the scenarios where you're saying that you don't want commitment, but this person has told you that they want commitment. So we're now going to move on to the next scenario, which is you don't want commitment, or you're avoiding commitment in this situationship, and you've asked this other person, and they've said that they also don't want commitment. So the first follow-up question from this is the same as the last one, which is, why are you avoiding commitment, or why do you not want commitment in the situationship? So again, 6 options, right? First option, you don't want commitment because you want to keep things casual. Number 2, you don't see them long term. Number 3, you're scared of commitment, but it's not necessarily that you don't like this person. Number 4, you're not really sure. You want to see how this goes. Number 5, you're prioritizing other things other than a relationship in your life right now. And number 6, you don't actually like them that much. You have, like, you're kind of interested, but it's like you're not that interested in them. So rapid fire explanation of all of those. We're now going to take each of those in turn. So number 1, if you picked, I don't want commitment with this person, they've told me they don't want commitment with me, and the reason is because I want to keep things casual, I want to see other people, then this is kind of sustainable, honestly. It's kind of sustainable casual with boundaries, because honestly, that's fine. That's fine. You're saying you don't want commitment, they don't want commitment. What else is there to say? That's aligned. As long as you're actually both being for real about what you're saying, right? Like, if you're saying I don't want commitment and this person is telling you they don't want commitment, this is chill. So long as no one is fucking lying right now and pretending that they're fine with it when actually they're like in their room crying, throwing up in private from anguish of like pretending they're chill and like they actually want something with you. As long as you believe this person, you like truly in your heart believe them when they're like, yeah, I don't want to label, and you're also like, yeah, I don't want to label, then this is fine. Okay, moving on to the next scenario. If you're saying you don't want commitment because you don't see this person long term, and this person has also told you that they don't want commitment, again, this is like sustainable short-term casual, because there's no like immediate mismatch of like expectations or like desire, right? But this is probably like more fragile, like it's more short-term, because you basically know in your heart already that this isn't forever. And to be honest, that's fine, because not everyone is necessarily looking to explore a dynamic with someone that's going to stay in their life forever, right? I think that's obviously a beautiful thing to have happen, but sometimes you can just enjoy your time with someone and let it run its course. I think that's perfectly okay. People are probably going to disagree with me in the comments, but as long as that other person is also on the same page, I think that's totally fine. And it works as long as both of you are actually self-aware that it's temporary, and when it burns out, or if it burns out, or if it fizzles out, then you should end it cleanly and on good terms. Okay, moving on to the third reason. If you picked I'm avoiding commitment, or I don't want commitment because I'm scared of commitment, and this person has also told me they don't want commitment, then you get the outcome of this dynamic is probably going to work out short term, because on the face of it, you're both telling each other that you don't want commitment, right? But also you have to be aware that right now you guys are basically like two avoidant people, right? Like two magnets, like two polarizing magnets, right? And like that creates kind of like a mirror effect because neither of you is necessarily pushing for clarity. Like that other person, obviously you don't know what's going on in their mind, but they're telling you from their words that they don't want commitment, and you know because you're scared of commitment that you also you're not going to push for clarity. So no one is pushing for anything. No one is really like looking for stability, and honestly that feels fine at first. Like that almost feels safe because you're both on the same page, but in practice it's probably just going to stagnate eventually because unless one of you actively works through your fear of commitment or like your reservations of why you don't want commitment and chooses to step up or establish or leave, the relationship is probably just gonna drift or plateau or it's just gonna like quietly fizzle out, which honestly is fine. That's just the scenario that's gonna happen. Okay, moving on to the next scenario. So if you picked I'm avoiding or I don't want commitment because I want to see how this goes, or I'm uncertain necessarily of what I want out of this dynamic or from this person, then right now you're basically coasting in like a let's see what happens setup, right? And like that is fine because it's like low stakes and exploratory, and also because this other person has told you they don't want commitment. And honestly, it's probably even fun, right? Because neither person is applying pressure, which is like honestly pretty fucking ideal. The only risk here is if you let this like go on for too long, one of two things in my experience usually happens. Either number one person will quietly develop deeper feelings for the other person, or number two, someone gets bored and like the connection collapses or like the dynamic collapses. So here you basically have to treat it like a temporary set. There's not really any like active direct action that you need to necessarily do. You should definitely enjoy your time with this person, but you should probably consciously plan to check in with them or like with yourself or like reassess in a couple months. If neither of you has clarity by then take it as a sign, enjoy the dynamic, but it's probably gonna fizzle out or end in some way. Okay, moving on. If you said that the reason that you don't want commitment or you're avoiding it is because of your life stage priorities, so like if you maybe like this person but are prioritizing other things in your life right now. So for this outcome, right, it's kind of tricky because for you, the block is more about like timing as opposed to your feelings for this person, right? Because you're like focused on school or your career or something like that. Whereas for them, if they've told you they don't want commitment, then for them, the block is actually them not wanting a relationship with you. So like, even though you've kind of landed in the same outcome, you have different motives, even if the results overlap. Does that make sense? So like, even though neither of you is asking for commitment, the reasons you've come to this decision are different. And this is kind of tricky because the risk here is that this setup only works if both of you are being transparent, right? Because if you know that you secretly would want more with this person or like more from this dynamic if your life was calmer, then you kind of risk outgrowing this person, and they might not necessarily change their stance on whether or not they want something deeper with you. So here it basically can work as like a casual dynamic or like a casual situationship right now if you both actually do know, like truly know that it is a temporary arrangement. But you shouldn't mistake their lack of commitment here for like, oh, they're also just busy but they would also want something with me, because that might be the case for you, it might not necessarily be the case for them, and you have to accept the fact that they might not necessarily want this at all ever. Okay, moving on to the final scenario here. So if you're saying that you don't want commitment and this other person is saying they don't want commitment, and your reason for not wanting commitment is because you have kind of low interest or like you don't actually like them that much, they're kind of just a convenience option for you, then the outcome here is this will probably fizzle out on its own, I'm not gonna lie. And like if they're saying they don't want to commit, like if neither of you actually really cares and it's purely a convenience thing, like honestly you're probably fine. Like you're fine, don't worry about it, honestly. Like this is fine, like it'll fade naturally, okay? Or like one person is gonna get bored first, or like maybe that other person is lying and they have deep emotional feelings for you, in which case you're but if you're both being honest, you're probably fine. Okay, so that wraps up all of the scenarios where you're saying that you don't want commitment and this person is also telling you that they don't want commitment. So now we're going to move on to the next branch, which is you're saying that you don't want commitment or you're avoiding commitment, but you don't know what this other person wants. Probably because you haven't asked them. Most likely you haven't asked them because you've already told me you don't want commitment. Why the fuck would you ask them this question? So the scenario here is you should probably have the conversation with them anyway. I know you don't want to, okay? Let's be real. If you're saying, I don't want commitment in this relationship, in this not relationship, in this situationship, you've probably not asked this person. You should probably ask them. Like, have the conversation and then reapply this framework. Clarify their stance, because honestly, you can't really, like, ethically keep avoiding commitment without giving them the information to choose. Like, even if you find what their stance is and you realize it's misaligned with yours, whatever you do from that point on, at least you're kind of giving them the awareness of where you are, which already makes you a better person than like if you're just kind of cruising on the assumption that you're kind of like, oh, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? Just try it. Just try it. Just try to be a good person. It's good for your karma. Just, you know, like, just fucking charity work. Just do it. Guys, I'm fucking sick of shit, okay? This is like fucking Vapor Rub. Huffing. This is why my nose looks disgusting, by the way. But video needs to come out, so I look crazy. So that wraps up all the scenarios in the chart where you're saying, I don't want commitment. So we're now going to move on to the next branch, which is you in this dynamic. You're acting chill. Like, you're acting relaxed. Like, you're acting like you're fine. You're like, I'm fine with the fact that we're not exclusive. We don't have a label. But secretly, in the heart of your heart, you want more. You're crying. You're throwing up. You're, like, thinking about, like, you're Googling. You're on Reddit forums. You're like, I'm, like, pretending to be cool about this. But, like, actually, I'm not cool about this at all. I really want a fucking label. And then the follow-up step you get from this is, number one, you should acknowledge the fact that you are performing casualty. You are pretending that you are fine with this, but you are not fine with this. Just like accept, like the first, what the fuck is it saying? Like the first step to like acceptance is, no, that's not it. Grief. Something about grief. The 7 stages of denial. You know what the fuck I'm saying? The first step is to just acknowledge the fact that you are pretending. You're pretending, okay? And the follow-up step is to enter the fucking commitment reg. Watch the earlier part of this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to that in the mic. This is gonna live on the internet forever. It's fine. I need to like explain to people why I'm mouth breathing all the time, which is I am sick as shit right now. Okay, so now we're gonna move to the final part of this chart, which is your role here is in this dynamic. You're confused. You don't know what you want. I don't know what I want. I don't know why I clicked this fucking video, Crystal. I just feel like it's something that I should have clarity from. So the first thing you should do from here is to pause, acknowledge the fact that you are confused. Again, as I said last time, acceptance is the first step to recovery. What the fuck? What the the fucking like anyway. Acknowledge the fact that you are confused. You're confused. You don't know what you want in this dynamic, and that's okay. Just be honest with yourself. I don't know what I want. I'm confused. And the follow-up step from that is to take a solo evaluation window of like a couple weeks. So like maybe give yourself like 2 to 4 weeks and just like dig deep and figure out what it is that you're necessarily looking for in this dynamic, right? Because without pausing, you're probably just gonna get swept up in the other person's pace. So like whether or not that's like casual or like whether or not they're trying to like get married to you, right? Like whatever the range is, you're probably letting yourself run at that other person's pace, and just taking some time for yourself or like a short window prevents you from like necessarily dragging it on forever, but it also gives you space for your feelings to settle, right? Here, time is kind of like a diagnostic tool for you, because if you realize after you take this solo window out, you actually really miss this person, then that might give you an indication that you actually want commitment with them. But if you take a solo window out and you realize, oh, actually I'm like quite relieved or I want space, then maybe you want something casual, or maybe you don't actually want full commitment with that person. So this is like, it's really telling. It gives you time to kind of process what it is that you necessarily want. So the follow-up step from after you take that solo evaluation is to ask yourself, what do I want? And if you're realizing I'm actually leaning towards wanting commitment, then go to the commitment branch of this video, check the chapters in the video. But if you're realizing after reflection, actually, I don't really want commitment, or like I'm not really sure that I'm not really sure I want a full label with this person, then you should go to the I avoid or I don't want commitment with this person portion of this video. So that wraps up the entire video. Thank God I cannot breathe. I am so fucking, my nose is so fucking stuffy. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, then be sure to subscribe. I make a lot of relationship videos, but I also make some other videos. So you should check out this playlist or this video that YouTube thinks you should watch next.